Welcome to the Brad and Taylor Show. Today we have Rachel Jones.
You're listening to The Brad and Taylor Show, a podcast that inspires entrepreneurs to pursue their passions. We're sitting down with some of the best to learn how they got started and some lessons they learned along the way.
Hey, Rachel.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks so much for having me on today.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, awesome. So what exactly do you do?
So first, I just want to say that I think this platform is amazing for entrepreneurs like myself to come on and just help other people that are in the beginning stages, just to kind of provide inspiration and ideas. So thank you again.
Yeah, you're welcome.
But I'm a mother of 5 kids. I have 3 grown kids and 2 little girls. And so I actually sometimes say that I have 6 kids with my husband. But a few years ago, we decided that after, starting with 3 kids, we were like, well, let's do this again. So we signed ourselves up to be a foster family and start all over again. So we have those 2 adorable little girls, and we just adopted one, and hopefully in the next day or so, we're going to adopt the other one.
Awesome.
So that is what I do in my personal life. And then I am a real estate agent for RE/MAX and Okemos. And I have a small team here. It's the Rachel Royal Jones team. And my 18-year-old son, actually just started as a real estate agent too. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Nice.
I'm also an investor. So my husband and I, just because I have such a passion for real estate, we're investors. So we're in several states. And in fact, last week, we decided to kind of venture out a little bit more, and we bought a small motel.
Nice.
And so, so we're working through that, and it's kind of fun and exciting. So.
Oh, awesome. You got to tell us where it's at.
Yeah.
Where's that at?
It's in St. John's. So the St. John's Motel.
Nice. Good for you guys. That's awesome.
So go ahead.
I was going to say, so when you were younger, did you know you were going to get into real estate when you grew up?
Nope, I didn't.
What was your plan?
So I don't know. I mean, I had plans, like my grandpa was an attorney, and I thought, well, that sounds fun. And, we just kind of have those thoughts that maybe I'll do this and maybe I'll do that. But after high school, I needed a way to put myself through college. And so I became a dental assistant. Through that process, I became obsessed, like seriously obsessed with teeth. I just figured eventually I would be like a hygienist or a dentist at some point, but here I am, neither one of those.
So did you end up doing anything at the dentist or anything, or what was your what was your first job?
My very first job?
Yeah, what was that?
So my very first job was working in fast food at KFC.
Nice. That's awesome.
And so, I could tell you all the chicken pieces, although I really am not a farm girl. I don't like to talk about that kind of stuff because it kind of grosses me out, but if I have to, I will. So.
Nice. So when you were, when did you decide to get into real estate?
So I was married quite young, I'd say, and had my kids quite young. And so I decided at that point to be a stay-at-home mom. So my husband was going through medical school and then residency. And then after that was finished, we decided that he would do a military scholarship. And so with that, we traveled around a lot. So through that process, as you can imagine, we bought and sold a lot of homes, used a lot of real estate agents, some that were amazing and some that left a lot to be desired. And I just, through those processes, I loved the negotiating. I loved getting our homes ready. We often bought properties that needed some work. And I think that's where our love of kind of investing came in. But when my kids went to school, I decided, well, this is a great time to just kind of take the plunge and to sign up and become a real estate agent. So that's what I did.
That's awesome. So what do your, you said you had a team now. When you started out in real estate, did you join a team or did you kind of go solo, or how'd that go?
Yeah. So I started out, we were actually living in Texas, and I knew that my husband would be separating from the military within a year or two. And I thought, what a great opportunity for me to dive into real estate in an area that is incredibly aggressive when it comes to the real estate market. So I got my license in San Antonio and I was a single agent and I worked my butt off. Like anything that I could possibly do, I had mentors that I listened to and I followed to a T. I tried to build as many relationships as possible. I just did, like I said, just did what they told me to do, kind of a thing. And I found success, and that was very rewarding to me. Then when I came to Michigan, I sat for the test here and passed it, thank goodness. And I actually joined a team, which was great. I thought, I'm once again starting in real estate, and starting in real estate is difficult because it's all about relationships. Mm-hmm. We didn't know anyone here. Like I knew no one except for my husband when I came, and that was 4 years ago. And so I thought, let me join a team. And so I joined a team, and I was on the team for about 9 months, and it was fantastic. I learned a lot. But I knew that my place was as a single agent, and I needed that. So I left that and then decided about a few months ago that I would like to start my own team. Mm-hmm. And so I have a new agent. His name is Rusty Stump. And so it's going really well, and it's really fun.
That's awesome. So how do you handle your personal life and your business life at the same time now that you have several kids? How's that? How do you
balance that?
Yeah.
That's a really good question. And I think it's really important to talk about, because a lot of times from the outside looking in, it's like, oh, how do you do those things? How do you manage that? And honestly, it's because I have so many, I like to call them just angels in my life. I've got my mom that helps with the little girls a lot. And we're in the process of bringing over an au pair to kind of help us through that. I have some additional help at home. I mentioned that we've just bought this small motel. We are the owners of it, and we have a staff that will be running that, as real estate is my full-time career, and that's where I have my focus. So as I'm building, as I'm going along, it's important to me to make sure that I have people that I can count on and I could leverage my time. And that's how I'm able to do the things I'm able to do.
Nice. So when you first started out in real estate, was there one piece of advice that maybe a mentor gave you that kind of just stuck with you throughout your life?
There's one piece of advice that actually just stays with me, that my grandmother actually gave me. And it wasn't about real estate per se, but I think it pertains a lot to real estate.
Yeah.
So I mentioned that my husband is in the military, and we found out that he was going to be going to Iraq. And I had 3 little kids at the time. The oldest was 4, and then 3 and 2. And so I was living in a place that I knew nobody. Once again, like that seems like the story of our life. So I remember going to my grandma and thinking, great, she's going to be sympathetic with me. She's going to I could cry, I could do whatever I wanted. And it was the opposite. She just kind of looked at me like first of all, her husband served in the South Pacific in World War II. Like back in the time when they were, communicating by letters and, symbols, like, if I say the sun, that means I'm in Hawaii or whatever. It was, that kind of thing. And so she just looked at me when I was looking for some sympathy, and she looked at me and she just said, you're either in it or you're not. And basically she told me, you either sink or swim. And so as I've gone through my life, and it actually relates a lot to real estate, I feel like, because real estate is hard. It's a hard business. And so whenever I'm feeling like the situation is bleak or I'm struggling, I think of her, and I think of her courage, and I think of her advice to get in there and solve some problems. And I think that by having that in my mind, I'm able to be successful and to achieve a lot of the things that I want to achieve.
Yeah, I like that advice, especially now, like right now when the pandemic first happened, even like you either got to go all in or you're going to get left behind. Like,
right. It's so true.
Yeah.
So true.
So speaking of the pandemic, how did that affect you when we first had the shutdown?
Well, that's really interesting because I work with several resident families, like coming for medical school or residency programs. So it's really interesting when the pandemic hit. It hit at the time of year when residents are actually coming to their, or like their first job kind of a thing. And so they're usually in place by the end of June. So they're, last year when the pandemic hit in March, they're actively looking for housing. So when that hit, I was able to help a few of those people by going into homes and videoing them. And there are several of my clients that bought homes sight unseen. Luckily, they trusted me. And I think that that's, you know, being a real estate agent, you have to have that trust with your agent. So definitely, I saw a change, or, you know, that affected me. Also, you know, especially right now, even a year into this, our market is crazy. We have, I looked yesterday, I think we have 340 active properties on the market, which means we have less than a 1 month supply of homes available. So if nobody else listed their home today, we would have no homes to sell. So it's interesting because you have to go back to the basics. You have to, as a real estate agent, say, okay, what do I need to do to be successful? And it's building those relationships. It's knowing how to negotiate in the market that we're in, and our market continues to change. And so you have to be willing to change, and you have to know, you know, what those changes are in order to be successful.
Yeah, for sure. So kind of going back to your first couple transactions, how did those go for you? Were those smooth, or how did those go?
So I had a lot of good, like I said, good mentors, I felt like, but it was still scary, like scary. I remember I was hosting an open house, and this couple came in, and it was funny because my kids and my husband are like my biggest supporters. And so they were out front. They had a lemonade stand for me, and trying to, you know, just kind of encourage people to come to my
lemonade stand out there.
Yeah. So they were just trying to help me. And anyway, this couple comes in, and they're like, all right, we want you to come over to our house after you're done with the open house, and we want you to list it for us, and we want to buy this house. And I was like, okay, well, let's
do it.
I just put on my best face, and I did not have anyone to hold my hand to show me exactly how to do it.
Yeah.
Which is why, as I have this team, I feel like it's so important to educate them and to train them so that they have the confidence that I kind of lacked in that regard. So it was nerve-wracking those first couple of times.
Yeah, it's
definitely
a big decision for the sellers and buyers. So, I mean, being your first transaction, that's a lot of weight on your shoulders.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what is one of the worst showings you've been to?
I think this is a really interesting question because I'm an investor. So my eyes don't see this as like a bad or worse property, you know?
Yeah.
So to answer that question, maybe in a different light, I think one of the saddest properties, some of the saddest properties I do see are when sellers think, oh, let me put all this money into this house because I know I'm going to get it back.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go over there and you're like, oh, geez, like, I'm sorry to tell you, but you've either priced yourself out of the market, or, you know, someone's not going to love that Italian tile that you just put all over the wall, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yep. That's awesome. So let's say you had to start all over today. You had $1,000 to your name. How would you spend that $1,000?
Well, I'm going to answer this in two ways, if that's okay.
Oh, yeah.
First, as an investor, and then as a real estate agent. So as an investor, with $1,000, you could do so many things. Sometimes it seems like either $1,000 is a lot or $1,000 isn't very much. But really, there's a lot of ways to make capital without having a lot of money. With sweat equity, using seller financing, and there's just so many ways to make a good return on your money. Now, as a real estate agent, assuming that you've already paid for all your licensing and, you know, all the things that you have to pay for, which is a lot, I would say using those funds to build relationships. And I talked about this a little bit earlier, but real estate is relationships. And so going out and meeting people and taking the time to really get to know people is really going to build a solid foundation for any business, in particular real estate. So I would say I would use that money, like I said, to take people out to eat and really just build that strong foundation. Because if you were to spend that money on advertising and making something look pretty, you might be successful for a little while, but I think that success would quickly die down, and then you'd be left to start all over again.
Yeah, those are perfect. That's awesome. Is there what's one of the best business books you've read that you kind of go back to here and there?
There is one of my favorites. It's called Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy. Have you guys read that one?
I don't think I've even heard of that one yet.
Okay. It's so great. It's like short and just like to the point. So it's based on and I'm going to forget it, but it's based on a quote by Mark Twain, which basically says like, if you eat the frog first thing in the morning, then that's the worst thing you're going to do the rest of the day. Huh. So we all, or maybe just me, I don't know, but I sometimes have, like, as I'm going throughout my day, I'm like, oh man, I don't want to do that. And I don't want to do that, that. So this book basically says, if you do the things that you don't want to do first thing, then your energy is spent where it needs to be spent. And you take care of that most horrible thing.
Yeah. That's brilliant. So, I like it.
Yeah. I also wanted to just say too, along with that, like, as a real estate agent, I'm in the car all the time. So I'm constantly listening to podcasts and books, audiobooks. And one of my favorite podcasts is Bigger Pockets.
Yep.
You guys are probably familiar with them. Yep. And this is obviously more on the investing side, but there's so much good knowledge and information. And I feel like I've earned so many degrees multiple times just because of that.
Just by listening to the podcast.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Nice.
I like it. Is there anything else you want to share with everyone before we go?
I just want to, I guess, say, like, I've had in my career as a real estate agent, I've really had a lot of growth and unexpected success. And so because of that, I feel like it's really important to give back and to whatever community you're in. So I've worked with a couple of colleagues. We're putting together a nonprofit, and Brad, you were kind of involved in this too. We had one of our first projects that we did is called 517 Heroes, and we were able to ask for unsolicited nominations in the community for those people who were going above and beyond, even though they were struggling in their own life. And we were able to present three people in the community with $3,000 apiece. And these people consisted of, a cancer survivor who was helping someone that was, doing things for his neighbor, like hunting and cleaning animals, even though he was struggling with cancer. And then another person she basically set up her own, her own little enterprise, going around into the community and providing coats and shoes and notes of goodwill to people. And so I really like to give back to the community. And another thing that I am involved in is there's refugees. I don't know if you guys know, but we have a pretty large population of refugees in the Lansing area. And so I'm working hand in hand and coordinating and organizing ways to help the refugees with a couple of local churches. So I think that as a real estate agent, as a small business owner, I think it's really important to make sure that we are giving back, because people are giving us so much.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, with that said, how can people get a hold of you?
So they can text or call me, 517-388-4534, or I'm on Facebook, Rachel Royal Jones. And you can also find me on Zillow or Redfin.
Awesome. I like it. Hey, thanks for coming on and sharing your story with us today.
Thank you so much for your time. Yep. Bye.
Are these working? All right. There we go.
Oh, there we go. I think they're working. Should we tell them?
Mine keeps falling. It doesn't like my voice.
What do we got to tell them?
Subscribe.
What do we got to point at? Hey, I think there's a subscription button. Like
it might be there.
It might be right there too.
Somewhere.
Somewhere.
Find it. It's red.
Yeah. And it's
Red.
blue. It's green. I don't really know.
It's a color.
This mic isn't even attached. Did you plug these in? Well, I guess,
I wonder if they can hear us.
yeah. I wonder if they hear us. Well, we should probably tell them if they can hear us. We should probably tell them to also give us a 5-star review if they're listening on Apple. That'd be cool.
5 stars,
review.
guys.
Share it with everybody they can think of.
We won't take
But-
4 stars.
I mean, Taylor, I don't even think these are on. I mean,
No, I don't think this is working.
This is not working.